For the opportunity. Uh, okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. No, it was an amazing experience I had. Even though at the end it didn't turn out the way I wanted, but I thank God for the opportunity and for your lives, guys, for giving me the opportunity to be part of the youth filmmakers, 2020. I mean, yeah, 2019. So yeah, first of all, I would like to correct something, Siswam. I'm not trying to, spoil everything, but I just want to just say it. Um, the light bulb, I didn't do the light bulb. I did the sound code. Um, I'm just taking a breath. Okay. What happened is that whatever that you saw, that's not my script. Whoever the director who directed my film corrupted everything that I wrote. I was talking about the Holy Spirit. He turned everything around and never um, uh, um, take my script for, like she took it for granted actually, because whatever that you saw, that's not my script. Every the lines, the message, the concept, the whatever the characters, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wrote. Everything she corrupted my feelings. So I'm sorry if I'm gonna say this at the beginning, but that's the experience that I had, because I even went to the hospital because I a lot of stress and depression, because that film it was not me who was writing it. I was led by the Holy Spirit to write it, but whatever that happened hurt me a lot. So I told whoever who was there, the Tranquil Post management, that this is what is happening. Even if SABC, I wrote to SABC, I wrote to BCCSA, and I got nothing. They didn't help me with they did help me with nothing. Even the SABC, they said to me they are not part of the youth feeling, and I was so disappointed about that. And so I told Mr. Asi about everything. At the end, he said to me, there's nothing they can do about it. So I said, you know what, remove my name from that film, because that light bulb is not my film. It's a Crystal Fetty or Veti something um, film. You know, I don't know. I wrote emails to NAVF. I didn't. I'm so amazed. Actually, I keep hearing, guys, because this thing young had a lot, because Kinsley a bad experience, like for past actually last year, the whole last year. Even if when I saw it, when I saw it on TV, whatever whatever that was happening in that film, it's so disgusting. I'm sorry to say that. So I didn't write that film.
I apologize for interrupting you, Tlehang, and
Yeah.
I'm deeply moved by your concerns. And I guess this might not necessarily be the right platform to take it up, but we hear your concerns, and I'm sure with some of our staff members listening will be directed accordingly to the direction that needs to be taken. But what you've triggered also leads me to my second question, which goes to you, Khosana. Khosana, you're a director, and you probably direct a script by somebody else.
Yeah.
There could be instances where adjustments are done. I'm not underplaying what Etlehang is feeling, but I just want your perspective. Assuming you're a first-time filmmaker, if not, you can explain, but getting script and making it come alive, how does the whole process feel?
Cool. Sorry to hear the what you went through, Atlehang. Yeah, I just want to address that. Cool. So taking something and executing it is it has big challenges, as Atlehang has just highlighted. So for me, the being part of the muted. Okay, can you guys hear me? Cool. So yeah, I was just saying that being part of the youth project was an amazing experience for me personally. It was my second short film. The first one I had written and directed, which was funded by the NFVF. But for me, particularly for why I was excited about being part of this project is because I wanted to experience taking somebody else's script and bringing that to life. And I was interested to see what I could learn from that process. So yeah, to answer your question, it is a very touchy subject, taking somebody, as a creative, taking somebody else's work and vision, and the interpretations can always go left field, and I know that I had encountered something similar with, because my script was as a genre that is in the LGBTQ community, and it was a very important story. And my writer, Raymond, he's an activist himself. So when I took over the film, he was very defensive, and he wanted to make sure that I get certain things right, So yeah, but I kind of knew how to approach that, because I had to reassure him that, look, man, I love your script the way you wrote it. That's why I want to direct it. I don't want to tell a different script. That's why I chose this movie. So I had coffee with him and reassured him that this is how I'm seeing the story. This is what I'm passionate about. I really love this. I love the writing, and just reassured him that, yeah, I want to bring his vision to life. And yeah, after that coffee session, he was happy. He was excited about the film. He came on set. I made him part of the process, and he helped with some of the casting decisions. And yeah, I walked away very happy that that I was able to stay true to the story and yeah, and do it justice. Yeah.
I guess you guys are always in a very dynamic position of having to make somebody else's words come into a picture. And obviously you get a lot of criticism as well as praise for certain things you do in however you choose to do them. But having experienced a very interesting queer filmmaking webinar that the NFVF had done a while back, I realized the importance of involving people if you're going to be talking about their story. So Hosanna, it's really something worth applauding, where you take time to own the space that you plan to walk so that you depict it as it should be. And we really admire you for that.
Thank you.
My next question goes to Donna. Like Donna, your story broke my heart. How do we just not win? So Donna wrote a story called Lobola. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but I was just hoping for a happy ending. And I'm actually even wondering what inspired? How did you get to that space? Can you talk us through it, please?
So my movie was inspired by, can you hear me? Okay, that's great. It was inspired by a real life event. Like you'd hear people paying like, I don't know how to explain. There was this culture back in the days, because the idea came up, I think 5 years ago, where there's this culture of women that really wanted to get married, but the man didn't have money. So they would literally give the guy money to go pay for the lobola. So when I'm hearing the story, and I'm seeing what's happening, I'm like, but guys, like, have you ever thought about the worst case scenario? So that's what inspired my story. And then I decided I'm going to take this idea and then I'm going to take it to the extreme, so that it's just a message for ladies to like, hey, let's love ourselves. Let's not put ourselves in such situations, because it can really lead to, unhappy and unpleasant endings. So that's how it came about.
I truly, truly enjoyed watching it. And I'm wondering, of the many cultures you could have chosen, it felt very Zulu. Was that also deliberate? I mean, there's a lot of cultures and traditions. South Africa is a melting pot. Was that inspired by the target market that will watch, or like, how did you get to choosing the language to go with?
Yeah, so it was very Zulu. I grew up in a Zulu culture, so it was something I could relate to firstly, and it was something that I knew that the broader audience as well will be able to relate to. And it's things that I practice. It's so, how do I say it? It's so exposed. The culture of Lobola is so exposed and it's so out there. So there's also like an easier for people to relate and for people to understand if I go into that culture.
Awesome. And when you talk about relating to stories, Ian, this one is for you. I am a single mom, not by choice, but it is what it is. And I live with my two sons. One is older, one is very young. And when I watched your story, I actually felt the desire to have a conversation with them to ask, actually, dudes, do you need a father figure? Then when I continued watching, I'm like, okay, maybe not. So, yeah, you have to make me feel what you were feeling. Your story was amazing.
Thank you very much. No, the story, it was written by, what is her name? Oh, but Naomi, yes. Hey. It was very personal to her because she liked the story of a little boy being impressionable by an older figure, a fatherly figure. But in my case, I saw it as, in my area where I grew up, I've seen many diverse living situations where single mothers and people who have fathers who still get abused and who have boyfriends that come in. And for me, it's a thing where I like to figure out what is going on in people's heads, how they think, what makes them think what they think. So for a single mother to have a son that she has no control over because of a man that she loves was the dynamic for me, where she had to choose between her son and love. And in the end, it turns out in a big disaster because in the end, she still chooses the man over her child. So it's basically,
and I think
almost,
that encourages conversations.
yes, because it's almost in the same case where Donna said, like, the woman should love themselves first instead of being desperate for attention or love, and valuing the things that are more important, which is her child.
But I think also there's community pressure that makes you feel that there should be somebody in your life, to an extent that even if a person is in a bad relationship and you talk to them about it, they go to an extent of asking you, do you know how long I've been single? So were you not afraid of backlash when you were directing that journey?
Yes, yes, people do have societal pressures, and it's one of the main pressures actually for everyone in this world. If you're looking for love, a job, anything. So there was backlash. The story initially had a happy ending where the boy realizes his wrongdoings, and it happens in the story still, but I wanted to drive it home a bit further to the reality of what life is. Sometimes the boy learns the message, but sometimes it doesn't. It can go further. So even if he learns the message, the mother can still be abused on and on and on and on. So I wanted to take it further so that it shows the effects that could have even on a young boy.
Thank you. Okay, my next question is to Rivaone. I love your name. So I was tempted to think that your story is about karma. But can I ask you to elaborate? I don't want to make assumptions.
Hi, everyone. Look, I mean, in essence, what Lucille really is about it's about redemption. It's about this person who realized that she's done something so wrong based on a need that we all have, which is to survive. You know, I mean, we all live, you know, under, you know, such, you know, precarious times, you know, with COVID. I mean, this movie was in 2019, but for me, there's a certain question that was looking at the harsh aspects of capitalism, where people are struggling to make ends meet. You know, people are struggling to survive. So that's why the story is. But it's really about redemption. It's about someone who is forced, whose hand is forced into doing this terrible thing, and it's too late for her. You know, some mistakes we make them, and no matter how hard we try, the only way to overcome them is to really pay. And unfortunately, you know, she pays with her life because she dug this hole for herself that she can't get out of.
And do you have a personal experience with something so tragic?
I think, no, to be honest with you, I don't think I would have written or directed this film if I wasn't a parent. But my frame of reference is based on me being a parent. Apart from that, I think it's really about, showing empathy to a single struggling mother, But apart from being a parent, my only frame of reference is empathy, which I think as writers and as directors, we really need to have that. I mean, I don't think Kosana would have made the film that he did if he didn't have empathy for that community, you know what I mean? So I think a large part of it comes from being able to show empathy as a filmmaker, I think.
Thank you so much. You've got me thinking a lot more, which I love thinking. So my next question goes to Monelwa. So Monelwa, my question to you is more about the choice of what you called your project, because when I was seeing the cover, it said rent. So I thought, hey, maybe there's some landlords coming to get rent and it's going to get violent. But when I watched it, it was totally different. Are you able to just share your thought process?
Okay, I think there's a gentleman in this room who would best help you. I enjoyed the title. I also asked about it. I didn't write it, but I think someone can assist you, Ian, because I asked him the same thing. He wrote it, so I think you can share more on this title.
It's an intriguing title in relation to the story. Yes, please share, Ian.
When I wrote the script, rent, I was looking for a synonym for broken. And I don't know how that ended up in there, but it was one of them. So I thought, if you're going to look at it, most people will think, as what you said, it's going to be rent and landlords and things, and the story will encapsulate from there. But as it goes deeper, you'll think that, and then as the story goes on, and then you'll realize that it's got nothing to do with that, and it's more about mental health. So it was meant to divert people from what's actually going on.
Well, you did a great job there. Back to you, Monelwa. Mental health is one of those things that could be depicted either extremely negatively or extremely positively. And this is purely due to our lack of understanding. And being in a position where you are directing such a sensitive issue, because we can't deny that mental health is real, but we also have grown up seeing people that have mental health issues not being treated well within our community. So directing that in order for it to depict 1, empathy, 2, education, 3, understanding, how was the journey for you as a director?
Well, I don't think it was that hard. I think it's something that I've also experienced, and there's certain things that, even though your struggle is different, there seems to be always certain elements that are the same. Isolation, being alone, wanting to be alone when you actually need help, loss of hope. So I think I just also took from my own personal side to tell the story as true as it can be. Yeah.
Thank you for that. The next question goes to us, Florence. Hey, Sis Florence, I watched your short story, and I could see a lot of people I can identify within it. And I think you chose to tackle one of the issues that we grapple to even define as fellow South Africans. And especially during a time like COVID, we all go somewhere for just a crutch to survive. Are you able to just share how it felt for you, the experience? It got me feeling very emotional, but I guess it'll be a different perspective because you're on the other side of the lens.
Yes, hi Nombuso. It's Nombuso. Hi everyone else. So lovely to see y'all. So the movie was inspired by a journey that I took with my mother a long time ago. It was a road trip, actually. It was just the two of us. We went to a place called Endermark, somewhere outside Bochum, very, 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 very far. Anyway, it was a beautiful journey of mother and daughter. And when it came to the idea for this movie, I took it on the flip side that while I had a beautiful journey with my own mother, there are others, especially in my circle, who really do not have healthy relationships with their own mothers. And being an observer, I felt like oftentimes we tend to romanticize relationships between siblings, mothers and daughters, and we sweep things under the rug, even though there can be a lot of toxic issues that really influence a person up until they're old. And I decided to really look at that, to really expose that, because there are a lot of people who are in therapy because of the things that they've been through with their own mothers. And I felt like instead of saying mothers are amazing, let's look at how toxic mothers are, but also what causes them to be toxic in themselves. So it was looking at the situation from beginning to end, really.
But were you not a bit nervous about talking about something that's less spoken about? Because as you're mentioning it, I can remember in a township situation, we could see narcissistic behavior from certain mothers who will even go to an extent of saying, you will do this because I gave birth to you.
Yeah.
But it's also a sensitive position to a topic to tackle, because people take you back to the Bible and could be misconstrued, but there's an honor your mother and father somewhere in there. What's your thought around that?
Yeah, if we also take it back to the Bible, we also know that God is love, and as my mother, as my parent, the first thing I'm going to learn is whatever you teach me. So if you teach me hate, if you teach me pain, that's the lesson I carry with me. And I'm really not a writer who shies away from difficult conversations or difficult topics. I feel like if there's a stink in the room, we need to expose it. I'm not gonna write, romantic stuff and all of that. My characters are wounded, have trauma, maybe because I have subliminally, I don't know. Anyway, it's got nothing to do with me. Anyway, but yeah, so my thing is, yeah, let's have the difficult conversations. Let's expose these things, because once we do that, we can heal, because hurt people. That's my thing. So if I heal myself, I'm able to be a better mother to my two daughters, and they'll be better human beings in the world. So if writing a script can heal just one person, or maybe make a person think differently, best believe it, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, they do say it takes courage to be a script writer. I can see that courage.
I'm a coward. No courage here. I sit here in my little corner. You can't get to me. Yeah.
I'm glad you came back on, Thabo, because yeah, you're a brave man too, Thabo. There's a lot of male sexuality issues that we encounter as human beings. And it's not things that are spoken about. And we grew up in the era where a lot of things that happen in the mountain are sacred, to an extent that it is believed that the reason there's so many people getting hurt and affected, it's because we've taken it out of the sacred space into media and talk, coffee table talk. I'm assuming you're a Mosotho, and I'm assuming it was a natural understanding for you dealing with that Sotho element. I'm Zulu, we don't know much about it, but I'd like you to please share why such a tragic adversity of something I personally barely even understand.
Thank you very much, Osnombuso, for having me. This is very exciting. I think just to quickly just share that particular experience. So I don't know much particularly about the mountain like from a practical and personal experience. However, the writer himself, Kimosot Tato Gwena, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the writing program, which actually gave me the opportunity to see exactly what is it that he had in mind. And during our conversations when the workshop was happening, you know, I would get a sense of an idea of what is it that Tato was trying to portray and bring out. And there was particular elements, you know, particularly now, as you've just highlighted, for the topic of masculinity is a very sensitive one that, you know, of course, I think a lot of men are in a tough position to vocalize, you know, how they feel, what's happening, particularly with, of course, the pandemic in GBV, you know. So when I came across this particular beautiful story that Tato had created, and the messages which he wanted to bring out was the challenges that we as men silently go through, particularly that have to do with what it means to become a man or what it means to be a man. So the circumcision aspect of things was more of a practical or visual kind of aspect, but the deeper meaning of it was different aspects of manhood. What kind of aspects, if you may ask? Aspects such as, what does love mean to me as a man? What does love mean? What does brotherhood mean? What does perseverance mean? What does overcoming such pain, such trauma mean to me as a man? And how or what is right in the process of becoming this particular man? So this is some of the ingredients that I think when I was engaged in Tato, and I'm quite excited to say that Tato's currently working on a feature film regarding this particular story. So those are the kind of ingredients that I think me and Tato were touching into as to be able to share the story with South Africa and the rest of the world. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to applaud you and Tato on is, you know how it's depicted that if men are going through adversity and can't utilize words, they utilized violence. And in this case, you utilized sport. Was that a deliberate initiative?
Absolutely,
or...
absolutely. I think also, yes, well, I think just, we had a similar experience that the gentleman at Lechang had highlighted that he had at the beginning of, or at the end of his story. I think it was very, very, very tough to actually just work through that. Particularly, I think with Tato, he was already working on the film for about 2 years. And, you know, I think what happens is that and this is the beautiful thing about the direction workshop, is that the mentor himself was taking us through some stuff that we need to particularly focus on in order to be able to deliver this particular task that we had at hand. I think as a director, we step into this role as generals. And, you know, it's not an easy kind of role to want to take on, and particularly to be able to take from someone else, because of these particular ideas are like a baby. You know, so Tato, I think in the original story, he had, of course, brought out those particular elements. So when I came on board, of course, as director, and I think just to quickly put this out, I was part of the writing workshop. I wrote a story, and it didn't make it, but I was super excited that I was part of the directing workshop. So when I got to the direction workshop, I started to understand some of the stuff that we didn't necessarily build into the scripts during the writing workshop. And those are the stuff that I was fortunate enough to be able to sit down or over time speak to Tato. And then I rewrote the entire script based on those particular elements that I had been able to be fed through the workshop. And it was very tough. I remember when we had a brief session between ourselves, the directors and the writers, concerning that particular issue. And I said to the director, to the writer, Tato, I know this is going to be a hard thing to say, but please just trust me, guys. I think we've been given the ingredients. I think if I can just been given those days that I'm going to be given to shoot, I might just be able to cook something, because we've got a phenomenal team, and I had a fantastic cast in mind. And I knew that, you know, our probabilities of succeeding in bringing out something great were quite high. And I think I want to thank Tato as well for trusting me as director to say, okay, Mpetu, go on with this. Let's see what you can be able to do. And for us to win international awards, it was very, 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 very much of an honor. And it was a result of this collaboration, I think, that brought forward. So that on its own, I think, what allowed us to be able to explore those subjects also, Osnombuso, that you were just asking about, of how we can be able to bring out this whole subject of violence that men are bringing, and the delicate side of things in terms of bringing out the message. And I think because of the way we were handling our working way, it allows us to bring out that into the story. And we started to have, and that was what became an ingredient towards how we were going to manage the narrative or the story itself. So yeah, no, thank you guys. La roca, Bafit, la roca, la roca.
Thank you for that, Tabo. And my next question goes back to Atlegang. So based on the conversation leading directly from what Tabo has said, it seems that there's a lot more value in combining a team that works, a team that trusts, and a team that can deliver the ultimate product that everybody buys into. Knowing that there's a call out at the moment for the next group of youth filmmakers and hoping that they are listening to the session, what advice would you positively send to them as they journey into the new chapter of their opportunity to do youth films?
Okay. My advice, I can say to them, first of all, God is love, and life is spiritual. So life is spiritual. Whatever that you see, remember, everything that we see was made by faith, and everything that we see comes from the unseen. So whatever that you have in mind, whatever that you wanna tell, the story you wanna tell, go for it. See it and keep on writing, write, and push yourself to the extent that people will try to, and people will try by all means to understand what you are saying. But by me saying that is because of immediately when people try to understand what you are saying, that means there is something that you are bringing that is unique. So I will say to them, keep on writing, don't stop writing. Whatever the experience that I had, even now I'm busy writing another films, So yeah, and I wish them all the best.
Thank you for that. I'm battling now to, Ian, I remember you are a writer. When it comes to writing, maybe an unfair question because you probably write in English, but when it comes to the authenticity of the story and the choice of language, what have you learned in your experience and how would you approach it when it comes to directing it? For example, let me say I'm writing a story about a Mosotho person who does something very Zulu. Can't think of an example. Okay, but I'm trying to get to the authenticity of choice of language to depict a story.
Yeah.
Is that something that people think about?
Yes, they do. And for us, what they specifically told us is that most of the stories will have to be told in 80% vernac, or is it 70%? So that it, because it's on SABC1, and so that it can relate more to the people that are the audience. So for me, I wrote in English, but when directing, I collaborated with the actors to see which parts would be more sensible for them to express themselves in that particular language.
Okay. The next question is for Os Florence. Please just tell me how it felt seeing your movie on SABC1 with over 1 million people watching. Like that secret moment behind the scenes that we couldn't see.
Guys. Oh, man, like I don't even know. Like I was nervous because it's like you're putting your naked baby out there for people to judge, and I was very nervous, but I was also very emotional, and I greatly admired how Ian treated the story, because we'd had another director working on it, and she left the project, and then Ian took over at such a short notice. But what he produced, I was like, how the final movie came out. And what I also admired about Ian was that, he kept me in the loop about everything. And how the movie looked at the end, man, yeah, I was very emotional. Even my mother-in-law, who also had a similar experience but had not told me, actually shared her own now. I was like, wow, okay. But it was, man, how it came out, man, kudos to the actresses as well and the director. Like everything looked so, it was even better than what I initially had on the script. So I think also what I learned from the journey is, as a writer, I can only see up to a certain level. And when a director who's passionate about the topic gets in, they're able to really make the project come to give it a completely different color and texture. And I think that's what happened with Swela. So yeah,
Yes.
well done, Ian.
Wow. I think anything that makes it onto SABC just attracts a lot of eyeballs, and it just brings me joy to know that your work was appreciated by a lot of people beyond the NFVF. My next question is a bit of a sensitive one, and it goes to Donna. Donna, we're a funding agency, so we wake up in the morning to find opportunities to improve the film industry through funding. And 10 out of 10 times, some of the thank yous we get is that it's not enough. But in the same space, we see amazing work hitting the screens, hitting the film festivals. So I just want your personal experience on an initiative like this, because I always fear that if there's not positivity that's thrown back at an amazing project, then funds will be redirected to something else. And that's just my fear as a marketer, because I'm in the space that budget cuts are a thing. So your experience, Donna, with the financing of the project, or just your view on financing films that eventually come to fruition. I mean, I've met filmmakers who've overtly said, I've been working on a feature film for 10 years, and it's not lack of a good story or great actors, it's lack of funding. So, and when we do have these conversations, it's normally because a lot of anger is driving the conversation. So I'm feeling this is a safe, happy space. Is it something we can talk about?
Yeah, no, it is a safe, happy place. You know what? I think if anybody believes in your vision and your views, okay, that's better. Now I can see myself. I think if anybody believes in your project enough to put money into it, that already is an opportunity. And it's not only NFVF, where you can look for money. There's other institutes. And NFVF is a starting point. So you can lay your foundation down in getting that amount, and then you can still seek other organizations to top it up so you can get the total amount that you want for your funding. So for me, in particular to this project, I was very grateful in actual fact. The budgeting was very limiting, but I felt that it was an opportunity for me to showcase myself in order for me to receive further funds, because once your work is out there, once people can see what you do, you attract more funds your way. So it's very difficult if you've got nothing to your belt and you're looking for 5 million Rand. I mean, who's going to give me 5 million Rand if I've got nothing in my belt? So I might as well start with a project that's going to give me 200,000, make it work, make something beautiful out of it. So then I can get my next 2 million. And then it's going to be my next 5 million. So I really feel like this anger towards funding, it shouldn't be an aggression. It should be more of, let's think positive. What's the next step? Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's look on to the next step. So for me, I really think we need to have a more positive outlook. There are organizations as well that can believe in your project and top up your funding. So let's be more grateful for the opportunities that we have rather than feel this anger, towards funding. I'm very grateful for my opportunity. I won't lie. I'm so grateful for it. And, when you start off as a filmmaker, you have to do a lot of, I'm going to use the right word, negotiating. That's the right word. You have to use a lot of negotiating. That's what it is. Unfortunately, when you approach people, you may not have the adequate funds, but you need to sell yourself. You need to sell your idea. You need to have people who believe in your project to be part of your project. That way you're able to build more things. It's a lot of, I think that's what makes people angry, that they feel like Now I have to go to the next person and tell them that this is the budget. If someone believes in your project, trust me, they'll jump on board, you know? So let's use the people around us. Let's use our support structures to make something beautiful out of what we have. And I think it's there should not be any anger towards it.
Thank you for that. I'm inspired to wake up on Monday and go to work again. While I am about funding, Ribawane, earlier on you mentioned that you are a parent, which makes me think you probably care about the future. Which brings my question to know your thought process about the future of film with a big focus on the youngsters. What do you think we're still lacking? How could we do it better? What are we missing? And I think my question is driven by the fact that I want to see the South African billionaire, well, a South African Beyonce bank account. I'd love to see a South African with millions because they are actresses or actors. And I'm not sure what it is that doesn't get us to generating the wealth, but I think there are lessons to be learned that we can impart for our children to have a better future. So I'll be sad if you say that you don't want your kids to go into film, but I'm hoping you give ideas of how, if that's where they end up, can we assist to make it better for them?
I think I would love them to go into film, one or two of them.
Okay.
In terms of, in terms of what you can do to assist, I think it is, as Donna said, I think, for me personally, then if you given the scope that you guys cover as, as an entity, I do think you do enough. Based on the fact that, we're still a third world country. South Africa as a country is still at such an infancy stage in terms of industry, especially this industry. So for it being a billion or multi-dollar industry, that's still going to take time, and the tide is changing. Distribution is not as it was 10 years ago. The streaming game has changed that, people can pick up phones and, shoot movies now. So really, I think apart from saying what you can do, I think it's what more people can do. And I just think people need to take more responsibility and, build themselves up. Young people need to build themselves up as brands, and go and do it themselves without having to, rely on the NFVF or any other entity. I think it's more about shredding that. I mean, as filmmakers, we can't afford, as young filmmakers, we can't afford to have an entitlement complex and expect, entities like the NFVF to do everything for us. So in terms of the future, I think it is bright, but it really, really depends a lot on the individual more than the body or the entity of what they can do. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And Stay, if there are questions coming on, please feel free to just let me know or interject. But my next question goes to Hosana. And Hosana, my question is more about the generation gap that we experience in the film space. So guys, we've lost a lot of people due to COVID. And some of the RIP messages say talent is gone, no person can fill the space, which is a fact, but they spell doom and gloom as if our industry is really gonna die, which just, makes me scared. Looking at the landscape of South Africa, a combination of old and young artists or filmmakers, do you think we're passing on the baton correctly? Are we in a space to really keep the fires burning? Or are we really doomed for the end?
That is such a loaded question. But yeah, I wouldn't say we're doomed for the end. I wouldn't say we're doomed for the end. I think people always need content. Films will always need to exist. Stories will always need to be told. We as creators will always have the urge to tell our stories. So I don't want to say that we're doomed to end, but whether we're passing the baton correctly, now that is a very contentious question, and it's a big question because it touches back on the previous question you asked about our industry and whether it's bright or not. And I am a parent as well, like Rex and Donna. And personally for me, I wouldn't allow my kids to get into film, particularly in our industry. Only, and I know it's going to be controversial, but our industry is still like 100 years behind the rest of the world. And that's from our own doing. It's not a financial thing. It's that the industry is too closed. Like, cool, I made a great film, but how do I get the next one? Nobody wants to tell me. Nobody wants to give me an opportunity. Nobody wants to say, hey, come through. Let me show you how to do this. Let me come learn, come do this. It's all like, no, I'm looking out for my friends. And, so that's actually one of the biggest things that's holding back our industry, is that we're still too close. The people who've made it have their circles, and the guys that are us who are who have the great stories, we're literally bashing our heads against walls and doors and trying to, so I do love the NFVF for giving us an opportunity to not need to, bash our heads against walls trying to make something. And you guys have been, for my personal career in being a filmmaker, with both of my films coming through the NFVF. I mean, if the NFVF wasn't there, I would never have a thing to say, hey, I'm a filmmaker, So I do love the NFVF for that. So to young people, I would really encourage them to really write and submit and do proposals and try get your foot in to be able to make a short film. And then in terms of the other side of whether the future is bright and where we're going in as an industry, I think Rex touched on distribution and that kind of thing, but I feel like we do need to learn a little bit more about the business side of filmmaking. There's a big gap there in learning how to monetize the films that we make and why we're making them in the first place from a financial point of view. And I think that's also another thing that's stopping us from seeing those bank accounts that you're talking about. It's you'll never have enough money even the guys in Hollywood are complaining they don't have enough money. So, when we're here, you need to firstly accept that you don't have enough money. Like when I came on the process, I knew that I'm not gonna have the money that I would need and want to be able to do what I need to do, but it's about packaging a product that is sellable, So yeah, I think that's a big thing, is that how do we make something that will generate money? What is the market? What is the thirst? What is the appetite for content out there? And I think, I don't know where NFVF plugs into that gap, but I think it's a bigger industry thing. I mean, we've got great filmmakers in our country who make great films, but they break even, or sometimes they don't even break even, we need to actually be seeing more films like the Kandasamis and the Leon Schuster movies making 20 million at the box office, even though they are, there's a whole thing around that itself, but just the idea of making 20 million rands at the box office, that's what we need to get into. So I don't know how NFVF gets into that space to be able to equip us to be able to do that, but yeah.
With my limited experience in the space, I can comfortably say that a bulk of the success of the industry depends on us. It's very seldom that I meet a filmmaker who is speaking amazing stuff about another South African filmmaker. It's very rare for me to encounter a situation where they're punting what is ours. I've been in situations where people have the opportunity to say, big up Khosana, you're doing great, but they'd rather talk about a Malik Yoba instead, or some Nigerian filmmakers. So I don't know if we've mastered the art of self-love. And I think the day Florence tweets to say, Donna's movies on now, my whole network of Twitter followers must watch, we would be heading in the right direction. We need to love what we do and punt it and make noise about it. And I think I make noise about everything South African. So your movies have been watched by my whole family on SABC and on YouTube. But if you could do the same with your people, imagine that. So we're getting close to the end, and I'd like you to start thinking about the core message that you're going to be putting out there, especially around the work that you're doing, because there's an advert opportunity. You can say, watch out for whatever. But I've got 2 questions that I've received. The first one is, what can we expect from all of you currently or in the future, and what projects are you working on? Oh, that was going to be my closing question, so I'll give everybody a chance to answer that. The second one is, how has this experience better prepared you or propelled you for the film industry? So as we're rounding up and preparing to close off, if you could just give us an indication of your future projects, what you're working on, what we should watch out for, as well as what's still driving you, what's still making you during this horrible period of COVID still want to wake up and make it happen. And we don't count rent and food as a reason good enough for you to stay in the industry. I could pack shelves and still get rent money. I need the genuine, real story that's something deep within. That's something that the grade 10 is going to hear and say, I want to do that. So I'll start with you, Rebecca. It's your smile that made me start with you.
Okay, cool. Currently, I have a short film that's in development. It's being funded by the NFVF as well. Busy with that. Apart from that, I'm also part of the multi-choice talent factory script writing incubator, which is also ongoing. Yes, and I am in very, very early development with Triangle, the production company that did Lucille. We're in early development on a feature film script that I'm still sort of working on as well.
Oh, that's amazing stuff. Abuti Atlahan, what does the future look like?
All right. Sorry guys, the sound, I'm at work. Sorry about that. I'm busy writing another film script. It's about a novel. One of the pastors. He's from Canada. Yeah, Pastor Benny Hinn. So I'm busy writing a film script, and also I'm busy writing. I'm into music, so soon I will be releasing my song. There's nothing much. Yeah, there's nothing much. Yeah.
You already guaranteed 10 people that are going to download your song when it comes out, because we are going to be supporting each other in this group.
Yes, I'm about to make noise.
Oh, yes. Abuti Taba, what's in the future?
Numbuso, thank you very much. I'm pretty excited. I have a feature film in development with the NFVF. It's a hectic one. I had to divert my attention a bit as to focus on Samson. So at least now I have an opportunity due to these lockdowns to really focus on bringing it out even further. But also there's exciting projects that I don't want to disclose at this moment that are becoming, that we are cooking and bringing to South Africa very, very soon. It's a feature film, it's another feature film, and also a couple of other beautiful programs. So I look forward to engaging the NFVF. We've done some so let's do more. Let us spanning. So thank you.
Awesome. You know, the moment they say I can't divulge more, you feel like you've got the scoop already. So when it comes out, you'll be like, we do at conception, even though we didn't know what it entailed. Ausflo, what does the future look like?
Okay.
Hello. Is there anybody there? Yes, okay.
Oh. Okay, is he finished? Because I thought he was still speaking.
I think he's done.
Oh, okay. Presently, I'm also part of the Multi-Choice Talent Factory scriptwriter incubator program. And yeah, I am working on a few scripts. But yeah, I think what the NFVF project was able to do for me was to give me confidence and courage to go all in. And I think it affirmed me that, okay, I am a writer and I can write. And that's really what I decided I'm going to pursue full time. And that's what I'm doing. So if it had not been for that, I'd probably still be working at a corporate job, but yeah. So yeah, that's currently what's on my plate. And yeah, it's a full plate. I'm happy. And yeah, but if anybody wants to collaborate, yeah, please send me an email.
That's nice to hear. I always find it quite amazing how some collaborations start, and it'll be very nice to look back and think some of it started right here on a Friday afternoon, and it's brought up a very big feature film. But something else that I just want to add before continuing is the importance of beginnings, because by the time we hear about Hosanna, he's already this Billboard awarded amazing actor. And seldom will he take us back to where it all began or how hard it was. So hearing these conversations where you're getting platforms that just give you that step ahead is quite assuring. And I think it'll also build the youngsters that are listening to know that you don't start at the top, you walk towards the top. And that's just the taking I'm hearing from some of the conversations we're having here. So Donna, what can we look forward to?
Yeah, thank you so much. There's so many things you can look forward to. I just want to start with the one about how this has prepared me for the film industry. To be honest, this opportunity has really given me, when you're in the space, sometimes you're very doubtful of yourself, which is not a good thing to have, but it does happen as a creative where you question yourself, you doubtful about whether it's good enough. So I believe like this experience with the NFVF and the opportunity to write and direct my own film has given me that confidence that I need to say, hey, listen, I am good enough. I can do it. There's nothing stopping me. So that's how it's prepared me, because through the journey, you try. I don't know how to explain it. Like you hustle. Can you give me this chance? Can you give me this chance? And you get so many rejections that it does somehow affect your self-esteem. So that's how it's prepared me. And after that, I got to produce my own film called Lensway that's aired on Zanzi Magic. So that was quite nice. It was a very funny film about lockdown. This girl falls in love with the guy, and lockdown, you have the mask on, and they date and they have this relationship. And after some time, she has to take out the mask, and it's just like, horror of notes. So it was so funny. So that got aired in January, I think 30th of January. So that was pretty good. It was my first, we wouldn't call it feature because it was 1 hour, but it was a midi. I'm currently working now on Love Through the Camera Lens. It's also a COVID film about two people that fall in love over the phone. And then that's a short film. And then my feature film is My Dear Attacker, Revenge is Best Served Cold. That one is a rape film, and it's just about her struggles and how she overcomes and the things that she does after the incident. It's a very emotionally driven film, and I think it can cross a lot of boundaries and barriers in regards to people that have been through a similar situation.
I really appreciate the strength to tackle stuff that's not spoken about, because as human beings, we're very quick to judge and have an opinion when we don't even know how it feels to walk for a second in somebody else's shoe. And I know that I'm a typical victim. I cry watching a funeral on TV of somebody I know I might bump into, because it's a movie, they're not dead, but I'll be crying. So I admire you getting into that space of getting us to be back in touch with our emotions, and I really do wish you well on that.
Thank you.
Hosanna, aside from seeing your name in Hollywood, what else is in store?
Not yet, not in Hollywood yet, soon. Cool, so what's in store, what people can expect from me, it's quite a bit. You can look forward to, so I've got two short projects that are going in production in the next few months. One is a web series, a 5 minutes times 8 episode web series, which is a thriller drama funded by the NFVF, and a short film that is also funded by the NFVF, which is a dark comedy. And in development, I've got a crime comedy that I'm currently writing. And yeah, that's what you can look forward to. But if you are watching this, young people, and need a director, holla at your boy.
Yes. This has been such a fruitful session, because I personally learned a lot. One thing I'd urge you guys on is the importance of sharing the work you do. So aside from your marketing and distribution plans that you've got, please feel free to drop a poster at info@thenfvf.co.za, because we will share the work that we'll do. We will tell people you're premiering. We'll tell them there's a complete project. We have people that are interested in the film space already. So the more we share what you guys are doing, the better they feel. And I'm actually quite glad the experience has been so great for you guys. And I know that there's other teething problems that we might not have shared at this platform, but I also urge you to please feel free to drop us an email so we can improve. Because as we say, we've got the future in mind. We want our kids to have a better life. So, and communication is part of making things work. So if you just have the time to say, hey, Nombuso, look out for this as a future, or improve on this for the future, we also want to journey with you in the most happiest of ways. I can't thank you all enough for the session. I want to thank you more for the work that you were willing to share on our YouTube pages. I know that it touched a lot of people because you did get good feedback. I also want to thank you for the courage of sharing stories that we sometimes think about or sometimes are fearful to converse about, but you are encouraging conversations in our houses. We watch the movies and we talk about something. I have to explain to my 5-year-old why that boy is a girl or why that girl is a boy, and God is love. We all who we are, and in time he'll understand. But it's nice to have the opportunity or a conversation starter to enable us to look at ourselves in the mirror and be truthful about a lot of things. I can't thank you enough. Given COVID, I'm sending you Bluetooth flowers and Bluetooth champagne. So I hope you receive, and I really, really appreciate the session. Thank you so, so much. Unless somebody wants to say something, I think we're good to go. Is there anybody who wants to say something? Okay, thank you so much, guys. It's been great.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Tabogo.
Thank you.